Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup Roundup 2019 Preliminary Honourable Mentions. Okay, so we have looked at all the teams in the top 10 who have to compete in the preliminary rounds of this year's World Cup. Those teams being Finland, Russia, Sweden, Australia and the United Kingdom. But there are some teams outside of the top 10 that could cause the ranked teams some problems in the preliminary rounds. First up, we have Team Denmark, who actually finished above our 8th ranked team, Sweden, last year. All of Denmark's roster are assigned to teams apart from Kellux, who has literally just left the Boston Uprising in the past few days. They boast players such as Shax, who has been playing for the LA Valiant this year. They also have Fischer and Henningsen from HSL Esports alongside Morfig of British Hurricane from European Contenders. They have a very good roster and could easily steal a spot from one of those top-ranked teams, especially the likes of Russia and Australia, but it all depends on how the team gels when playing on the day. The next honourable mention will go to New Zealand, who have a roster that could compete with some of the teams in the ranked places this year. They didn't feature at the World Cup last year, but this year they have the experience of Colourhex at the helm, who currently plays for the Boston Uprising, and his experience at the top level of Overwatch could be crucial for this New Zealand team. They also have August 9th and Fliss, who are signed to Mindfreak, signed from Order, Jungle Jazz from Warriors Esports, and Truth from Melbourne Mavericks, who all play in Contenders Australia. This team has some good up-and-coming players and could cause a shock to some of the ranked teams in this year's competition. We swing back to Europe now and take a look at Team Netherlands, who have an interesting looking roster. They have A10 and Dans from Phase 2, Trispear from Square 1 and Visility, all competing in North American Contenders. They also have Juna from Young and Beautiful in European Contenders, and of course, Cruiser D, who has been around European Contenders for a very long time, playing most recently for the Academy team of Overwatch League 2018 champions London Spitfire, British Hurricane. Where I think it gets really interesting for Team Netherlands is when we look at their coach, Caceres. He is currently a player development coach for the Atlanta Reign in the Overwatch League. If he can transfer some of the success that the Atlanta Reign have seen this season to the Netherlands, then we may have a surprise package on our hands, as there is no doubt that the Netherlands have some good players that we could be seeing in the later stages of this World Cup. The Netherlands have never qualified for the later stages of the World Cup, and so it would be a tremendous feat for this team to progress, but it looks possible when you look at their roster. Previously they lost out to Canada in the 2017 qualifiers, and to Team UK and France in the 2018 qualifiers. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. Next, we will take a look at Team Japan, who could cause an upset at this World Cup. They have a team built around the Contenders Pacific. With coaches from Greenleaves and Jupiter, they have a fairly stable roster, with 3 players from Greenleaves, 1 from Jupiter, Samurai D from the ISDux Academy, and Haku from XL2 in America. This team could gel very well, and cause some upsets in the preliminary rounds. Also, they did compete in the C Invitational, presented by Overwatch Contenders, not long ago, where they finished second behind Team Thailand, beating teams like New Zealand and Malaysia convincingly before losing in the final 4-2. With just a slight bit of improvement, which could have happened between then and now, they could cause an upset at the World Cup. I couldn't let this video go without mentioning Team Thailand though. They have a roster that is completely signed up by teams from across the world. Most notable will be Mickey of the Dallas Fuel, but they also have players such as Tita Watt of the Uprising Academy in America, and Aputo, who did very well with Talent Esports during the Contenders Gauntlet not very long ago. As I mentioned just now when talking about Japan, Team Thailand did win the C Invitational, coming out on top in front of teams like Japan and New Zealand, which puts them in a perfect spot to now try and take that next step and seal a place in the later stages of the World Cup by popping off in these preliminary rounds. Team Thailand have only ever qualified for the first World Cup in 2016, and since then have failed to get past the qualifiers, losing out to Team China in 2017 and finishing below China, Australia, Denmark and Sweden last year in what was a very tough qualifying group in Bangkok. There are some other teams that I could mention, such as Team Germany, but they don't seem to have the player base that they used to, and looking at the team, I think they come up a bit short compared to the teams we have already looked at. Also, there are some teams such as Portugal, who have the Paris Eternal DPS player Grey in their lineup, Team Norway, who have good players like Onigod and Decod, and Team Iceland, who have good players like Hafakal and Finzi. But I think that these teams just don't have the players to back up their stars, and so come up short against the tougher teams in these preliminaries. But that was a look at some teams that didn't make the top 10 international rankings, but could cause some upsets when it comes to the preliminary round of this year's World Cup. Next, we get into the meat of it as we start taking a look at the top 5 teams coming into this year's tournament, who have already qualified for the later stages due to their seeding. Next up will be Team USA, who undoubtedly have a stacked roster with Overwatch League champions in there, but last year a similar roster came up mighty short at Anaheim, so can they turn it around this year and live up to the expectations? We shall see. But, for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then!